Hi there, welcome to my channel. I hope you had a wonderful new year. This is the first project of 2019 and let's go ahead and get started. What I've done was I've tried to make all of my projects ahead of time with just plain craft paper just to make sure that they're going to work and kind of give me just a template. And so this is what we're going to be making today, but we're going to make it with pattern paper and we're going to deck it out with some embellishments and go ahead and finish it out. You're going to start out with a 6x6 piece of cardstock, and for all of my 3D paper craft projects I do use cardstock. I'm going to flip it over so that we can see the white side of the paper. At this point, since we have a square piece of paper, my pattern really doesn't matter which way I put the paper, but if it does to you, if you have a certain pattern or so forth, what you'll want to make sure of when we start here is that the bottom of your paper is on the left-hand side of the scoreboard. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to score the bottom at 1.25 inches, and that's it. Then you're going to move it and put the bottom now facing the top. The bottom's at the top of the scoreboard. And when we score, we are only going to score to the score line. We're not going past. So on the other 6-inch side, we're going to score at 1.25, but we're just going to the score line and we're stopping. Then we're going to go to 2.5, just to the score line. 3.75. Just to the score line, and 5 inches just to the score line. Now I will tell you that in making these projects, if you go past the score line on this last one, on the 5-inch one, and just make a very, very light score mark, you don't press very hard, when you go to match up your sides, it's a little bit easier. So I always tend to do that, but on the other 4, well, 1, 2, 3, on the other 3 score marks, you're just going to want to go to the score line that you made in the beginning. And that's all the scoring we need to do for that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this bottom corner here, and let's go ahead and kind of burnish these score lines, just these ones on the bottom. We're not going to do the one over here. And then I'm going to ever so slightly just notch in these score lines, basically just cutting the score lines out so that when we fold in our little bag box here, it's easier to match everything up. We don't have a lot of overage. Okay, so at this point what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over and we're going to match this side of the paper with our score line right here that we gently made. So we're going to roll it over and match things up like that. So in saying that, we're going to need some adhesive on the inside and on these bottom flaps. So what you're going to do is I'm going to use this 1/2 inch double-sided adhesive. It's actually SCOR tape. It's wonderful stuff. I'm going to put it just right here on the edge of this side. And I'm going to put some adhesive, and I know that there's a little bit of air in between here, but that's okay, we'll cut it apart. I'm going to put it right down here. I'm just going to cut these apart. Just like that. Okay? So now we will take the adhesive off of this side. And like I said, we're going to just roll it over and we're going to match it up, this edge with that score line right there. We're going to match it up all the way down. And then just take our fingers and make sure it sticks together. Now at this point, where we've joined everything together, this is the back of the project. So we are going to take the flap. There's 4 flaps. One of them does not have adhesive. It's going to go in first. And then the side flaps, and that's the back flap that did not have any adhesive. The side flaps will go in next, so we'll press that side down And we'll press that side down. And lastly, this is the front flap. We'll press it in and get everything situated just like that. Okay, so like I said, since you scored that line, or since I scored that line a little bit, it's a little bit rigid, but that's okay. So we're going to try to, and this is actually pretty thick cardstock. So the thicker, and this is a small project as well, so the thicker your cardstock, you know, sometimes you have to manipulate the paper a little bit more. Alright, so what I'm doing is, where we've joined everything together, that's the back, so I'm placing that towards the back, and then this is the front, so I'm just going to taking it and grabbing it together with my fingers and smashing it so that it comes up like that. Alright. Now what we're going to do is, for the closure, I have die cut shapes. I have a Cricut machine, and I went and die cut some shapes to make tag toppers for my projects. But before we attach it, I'm going to run it through the embossing machine with the embossing folder to give it a little more texture. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And then we'll attach the topper. We'll put a little greeting on it with a stamp, and it will be finished. Alright, so there's that. And just with a little bit of, effect that makes, it adds a lot to it. Okay, so I am going to take my scoring tool here, and this is about 4 1/4 long. So I'm going to go to the 2 1/8 inch mark here, where my 2 points are this way, and I'm just going to put a score line just like that, so that it's easier for me. And I'm going to go this way with it because I like this embossed look better. And then we can fold it over and center it up, and it's going to go on just like that. Hi, so I wanted to show you how I ended up finishing this project. I didn't like the harsh point of the topper, and I had already put adhesive on the back, so I couldn't really adjust too much on the back. I was able to pull up a little bit and cut it off, and this is the back. I'm fine with that. That's okay. But I ended up putting this side on the trimmer and cutting off actually about 1 inch. So I cut that point off, and then I took my corner rounder and rounded the little edges that were on here. I stamped another stamp. It says Celebrate. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my foam tape, and I'm going to just put a couple small strips of this foam tape to lift that greeting up a little bit. So we'll do that. This foam tape is double-sided adhesive. And then it has, you know, it's foamy, so it's has some dimension to it. So we'll take this and we'll put it on our topper, just like this. And like I said, I'm not gonna do a permanent closure right now because I will end up using the project for a certain purpose, and I don't know what that purpose is right now. Obviously, when someone is celebrating something, I will give them this with a little treat inside. So just to top it off, I'm going to grab these little rhinestones that I have. I chose teal, and I'm just going to put one on either side of this greeting in the middle area, just like that. So this is what it ends up looking like. It's really cute, opens up, and it's a little treat pouch. So that's the project for today. We'll see you next time.